And welcome back to Aston Martin F1 Manager 2022 here in 2023. It's been a while, although at least one video did go up last week, but that was more for necessity than any other reason. The sudden arrival of Football Manager did somewhat get in the way of my regular release schedule. At least it meant I did have one episode in the bank for emergency purposes later down the line, which you just saw at Silverstone. I say just saw, it would have been last week now. If you are here only for F1 content and don't care about the Football Manager stuff, then I do need to just explain. The intention is for this to be Tuesdays and Thursdays going forward with the Football Manager Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I'm still up and eyeing whether I want to stream it. I did intend to stream this, if you're wondering where that was. I just ran out of opportunity to stream on the day I meant to stream this. So this and the next one will just be recorded. So apologies if anyone is actually interested in the streams. I will say, interest in general in F1 Manager on Twitch kind of died out faster than Frontier's support for the game. I joke about that. I was very baffled about the response to that message. It was very clear what they meant, by the way. I don't know how people got in such a twist about that. It was obvious they meant one major update and then just making sure it didn't break in the meantime until the release of the next one. Because let's be honest, all they need to do is fix the major problems and that's it. Quite frankly, for this one, they can't add features to the game at this stage. So yeah, I was a little bit surprised at the outcry at that because it was fairly obvious what they meant by that. And they have since clarified to repeat exactly what they meant, and it is exactly what they thought they meant. So sure, but on Twitch, it does seem to have died down a little bit anyway, and I wasn't getting great numbers on Twitch for it regardless. So I don't know whether I'll stream it. If I get the opportunity to stream it, then I will stream it. But if I don't, then I won't. Simple as that. What that does mean is also going forward, I will definitely finish this season. Whether I continue beyond the end of the season, I don't know. The numbers on YouTube are better, at least. There is still interest on YouTube, so I will definitely see out the season regardless. Hopefully the final major update they make to the game happens at some point during this, because that will obviously see me through to the new year with 2 episodes a week. We'll see beyond. We'll see at the end. It's still 12 races to do, so still 6 weeks worth of content, barest minimum. And without further ado, let's get into Austria. There is the result of the regulations after this race. Nothing else interesting. So it was another rain-interrupted practice session, which means I also had a massive amount of trouble getting Gasly to 100% setup. It just wouldn't find the sweet spot for me. But yeah, rain affected everything, which is why nobody's acclimatization is 100. But Mick did enough to get 15 out of 15. Pierre will have to cope with 14 today. It's also going to be a rainy race. So I think this is definitely where we take the penalties for Pierre as well. Now, obviously, the Red Bull Ring is a very short lap, so the intervals are not huge in terms of between each team. McLaren do seem to have found some pace, though. Norris in particular, like Norris and Gasly are fighting each other, and Ricciardo and Mick are fighting each other, sort of equivalent. Sainz did a poor lap, I guess. I don't think we're going to have too much issue with Q2. Mick's unlikely to Q3 here. I also don't know when people are going to come out, because obviously we need a minute, probably like a minute and a half at minimum. 2 minutes would be probably safe, because I don't know how slow people are going to take out laps. It's a weird track, because obviously the minimum here is 9/10, and Gasly's only 5/10 off that, basically. 4/10 off the actual cutoff. Just whether or not the lap time does improve. I don't think it will do. They're coming out on 2:20, so kind of as I predicted, around 2 minutes. There's a Williams. Just make sure we don't get trapped behind that, and we're probably going to be all right. We're sending Gasly out early. That's a beautiful angle. I now can't see anything. I'm just going to wait for Perez. There's the other Williams. It came out behind Gasly, thankfully. I'm actually marginally concerned by Mick because he's had to wait for everyone. Everyone got across the line fine. It doesn't look like anyone's actually improving, which is odd. Sainz improved on his poor lap, but nobody else has so far. Stroll, worst of all, is slightly odd. But then Bottas wasn't doing too well either, so that Alfa Romeo is sort of declined, it seems. Or just doesn't enjoy this track. A few shifting around at the top, but Mick fractionally improved. Oh, Bottas actually got out of the bottom 5. So it's Haas, Williams, Stroll. Kind of as expected these days, I think. I think both drivers were marginally hindered on their first runs, but I don't think it's going to make a great deal of difference. Mick's actually done a fairly good lap, considering. I'd take 11th with Mick. Sainz has had another weirdly poor one in Q2. I don't know what's going on with Sainz. He's doing rubbish first times, but I might just send Gasly out now while there's a bit of space for him. I kind of don't want to get either driver towards the back of this lot. Oh, Mick's in a really awkward spot because he's got a Red Bull behind him. Hopefully they back off. But he does have a comparative car in front of him, so hopefully that works out. It is actually Ricciardo that's in front of him on the track, so hopefully he'll get a nice little tow from that if that's the situation, but everyone's going to get a tow off each other. We'll have a look at Mick. as he does the Red Bull ring. Gasly's done a faster first sector, which is expected because new tyres. That's not always the case. Both drivers with faster first sectors, which is basically just one straight and a corner. So good news there. Just a little bit more traction in that one corner they do have to deal with, I guess, is the difference. Sector 2 a little bit, obviously, more demanding with just some corners in it. Gasly's done a faster second sector than he did originally, but that could literally just be thousands. We have no idea, and this is still an issue. Mick's done a slower second sector than he did originally, so great work there, Mick. Gasly stayed 7th. He has done a faster lap. I can see he's cut the gap to Norris by quite a bit. He was about 6 and a bit tenths off, and now he was only 4 and a bit tenths off, so he did about 2 tenths in the end. Mick, does go faster overall, but doesn't use up, oh god, it's 8 thousandths of a second. I think everyone that's still yet to cross the line is behind him in the order, though. Alonso, surprisingly slower. Albon stays slower. Bottas stays slower. Doohan was actually first across the line. He just did enough time to not get the checkered flag. So Mick 11th, we'll take that, especially because Gasly will take a penalty, so Mick will start 10th, which is what we want, really. That definitely shows you he was injured. I can't remember if the Q3 tyres get returned regardless if you use them or not. On the simple basis that if you don't get into Q3, you do get a fresh set of soft tyres, I'm going to work on the assumption they don't. So I'm actually not going to send Pierre out again, and we'll use this as a learning exercise if it doesn't work. I should say Gasly did his time on used tyres. So it's entirely fresh car parts for Pierre Gasly. He'll start at the back as a result, probably. There are other penalties, but I suspect they're not going to be worse than Pierre's. The rain comes annoyingly sort of right in the middle of the race, or just shy of halfway. Basically, where if Mick was actually on the... Where the pit stops are for both of our drivers, effectively, Mick was on the wrong strategy originally. But because Mick's better on his tyres, I think he'll be okay to get there on mediums. Unfortunately, our weather centre's just sort of worn down to the stage where it's taken that first sort of 25% knock or whatever the percentage is. So it's effectively back down to 60-odd% accuracy-wise. So we don't know exactly when the rain's going to come, but it's going to be in that ballpark. And I think Mick's okay, and he starts in the top 10. So effectively, I'm just wanting him to use the faster tyres just to stay in a DRS train, because this will be a DRS train. It's Austria. We know how that happens. And away we go.
It's the race we've all been waiting for. It's the Austrian Grand Prix.
I'm not sure everyone's been waiting for this.
And it's lights out, and away we go.
Does tend to be a bit of a bore fest. Hopefully we'll break trend today and Pierre doesn't need to start at the back. Although he's already got Albon offline. Albon, I don't know if he actually started further back than Pierre or not, but I think Pierre was on the even side to start with at least. But Albon's penalty was enough to take him 19th. I'll come back already. But...
like Aston Martin.
And indeed, it says overtake, so we will. Mick holding firm in 10th. In the gearbox of Danny Rick. But I can show you the report now. The rain effectively comes about halfway. Or it might actually be a couple laps earlier than I thought, because I went based on the weather itself. So Mick might actually have an extra lap or two in hand. Gasly up to 18th already, looking at Vettel, his former teammate. And on hards, he can like really slam these hards in this first stint. And bear in mind, basically all the strategies AI-wise are medium or hard starts. 2 of them are hard starts. So most of the others will be going on hards and not pushing them. That's Gasly past Vettel as well. The Williams is ahead. Vettel had a poor start. We'll watch this because I think he did it. Did he do it before the start line? He did, yes. He did it onto the start straight. That's a fabulous move from Pierre. His stint is designed to be aggressive, so we'll leave him on aggressive. We won't leave him on full 5. Mick is going to have to come down, though.
Yeah, take it easy.
Wait, Mick got Ocon and Danny Rick, and I didn't see the replays for either of those. That's why. They're yet to come. Well, he's already got Danny Rick at this point. I didn't see that highlight. I mean, that was a little bit George blocking Esteban off a little bit, and Mick's just capitalised on that. He's also trying to take people on hard tyres, which is probably part of it. This does have... Oh, Gasly's got both Williamses, it seems. Although he is fighting Zhou quite tooth and nail right now. It's important he gets past these Williamses. Actually, he might have DRS on this straight. Oh, no, he won't have DRS on this straight, but he will on the next, because I think it's 3 independent. There's the line. It's 3 independent DRS, so there's no double. Unfortunately, the Williams got DRS as well. But he's still on the outside of Zhou here. I feel like he's been on the outside of Zhou for an entire lap. Someone's had an incident up front. Oh, the dear. That's gone a bit carnage. Yellow flag.
15,
Everyone
yellow
stopped.
15.
Wait,
Let's take
all
a
that happened
closer
because someone
look.
spun. It
Ahead
wasn't a
of two,
crash.
Maxman. What a spin!
How did he even spin there? That was weird. Hopefully Miklo's staying on the back of Hamilton. In a weird repetition of real life, really, Mick and Hamilton at the Red Bull Ring. I don't think he's going to stay within a second, unfortunately. The issue is Norris got himself up to 5th somehow. The good news is Ocon is a second behind Mick as well, so he's not going to get DRS off him. But Danny Rick does have DRS on Ocon, which could be good, which could be annoying. I don't know. But we do need Norris to sort of fall through that pack and then fall into Mick if possible. But I don't think it's going to happen. Meanwhile, Gasly still can't get rid of Zhou just because there's 5 of them. Well, Gasly with an interesting position here. On the inside of the Williams, on the outside of the... Bloody hell, Pierre Gasly.
Okay, good job.
That was an unbelievable move. Sorry, is he going to take 4 cars on 1 lap? Okay, he got 3.
So this was the
This might genuinely be the best move I've ever seen on this game so far. Took the Williams on the inside and the drive on the outside of Duran, and then gets Magnussen, I think it is, in the other half still. I mean, that 5-car thing there, that's absolutely the thumbnail, isn't it? We effectively saw that overtake in the previous one as well, so we won't bother watching that. Now having a look at Bottas. I mean, it's 4 laps in, Gasly's up to 13th. This is Max Verstappen at Spa territory. What a ridiculous recovery drive. I think he's behind Bottas by the detection point as well, so he won't have the DRS. So just gets to drive away from Valtteri and into the DRS of Alonso in 11th. It's 5 laps in and he's on the verge of points. Ocon, Mick and Danny Rick have formed a trio now as well. We won't bother looking at those replays just because I think that's just going to be a bit tit for tat going forward. Mick's got him back again already. But Gasly around the outside of Alonso now. If Gasly can sort of drive up to the back of Danny Rick here.
Doing a good job, that's going to help you.
Just going to tell him to attack for a few laps, see if we can get into this train.
Yep.
Unfortunately, they're not really cutting the gap all that much. Hamilton's just run wide and actually come back into mixed fight with Ocon and Ricciardo. We're now on lap 11. But the weird thing, Gasly, is they're not catching. They wouldn't even catch even with Gasly pushing, which doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Because Mick can't be going that much faster. And the fact that Ocon, Ricciardo, you know, none of them are pulling away from each other implies that none of them are significantly faster than each other either. So the fact that Gasly can't catch up is really weird, despite the fact he's on push mode. I know he's on worse tyres. The only way we were gaining time was when Alonso was getting past. And Mick's actually ahead of Hamilton now. I don't really know what's happening. Might just take the opportunity to harvest with Gasly then. He's going to be in a train regardless, and he's actually backed Alonso into the chasing pack as well. Like even the Williams is in DRS range now. The range should help us with fuel later on, so I don't mind pushing him now a little bit, just to counterbalance the harvesting. Yeah, unfortunately, it's done exactly the same thing as it did last year, and it's sort of going around in 3 or 4 or 5 packs, as is the case may be. We've got the front 3, the next 3, the last 4 of the point scorers, although Hamilton seems to be struggling to keep up now. And then you've got effectively the points chasers, which is just now Gasly and Alonso overtake each other in respective DRS zones, although someone's had a moment there. It might have been Gasly himself, because he's lost place to Magnussen as well. Oh, it was Ocon, who's fallen out, obviously, of that train. Hamilton, yeah, has fallen out, so it's just Mick and Ricciardo now. So they're just going to swap over back and forth. I don't know what's going on with Hamilton on hards, because as these mediums wear on, they should be getting more comparable to the mediums in their speed. And Norris running wide on turn 9 is really helpful for Mick in particular. Oh, Hamilton has actually caught up now, because now Norris doesn't have DRS. He hopefully will fall back into our trio. And Ocon actually might now fall back into the Gasly-Alonso train. Just pop Gasly on attack for a few laps just to get him back through that lot. Trying to work out if that gap to Ocon is coming down. It's 1.8 seconds, 1.7. It's hovering around that borderline. Whether or not it's actually changing, I don't know. Norris to Mick is, what, 7 seconds? 7.5. We'll see if that changes going forward. I don't think it will do, but it is actually beneficial for Alonso to DRS past Gasly at this point, because if they do that to each other in respective sections, they should cut the gap to Ocon, but it hasn't happened, weirdly. The rain's only about 5-6 laps away as well, and it will be with us for the remainder of the race, so this could be a case of, depending on what that high is, intermediates for the rest of the race, or it could just be wets almost instantly. Oh. Hang on, what's happened to Gasly there?
Now look at this.
Oh, he's just gone wide. I thought he'd been shoved off the track there momentarily, but that might not actually be horrendously bad. We've got to annoyingly ignore the virtual safety car, although we will harvest with Mick during this session. Ricciardo's come in the pits. Now, this is the interesting thing. All the medium runners are probably about to pit. They're going to get the benefit of this, but they're still going to lose some positions. They've got the benefit of a virtual safety car, but the rain is about to come. So it's kind of mitigating their downfall. And they've all got away with it. And worst of all, it actually puts Norris back in a train, probably, with faster vehicles.
Virtual safety car is ending.
But the good news is Gasly's on the back of Ricciardo. So we can use him to get back in the train that starts with, well, do it now, actually, but Alonso's not far off. Mick and Hamilton are just going to continue swapping places until the rain comes. Actually, with that in mind, Mick is currently outdoing his prediction on tyres. There could be a question to actually push Mick until this rain comes. Still predicted around 32. I mean, Gasly's just done an unbelievable again. Magnussen's run wide on turn 6. Don't really care about that. But... oh, that's actually Magnussen ahead. Gasly overtook Ricciardo and in the process got himself into an attack position on Valtteri Bottas. Magnussen on the inside is the only one without DRS here, which is actually weirdly worked out for him. Gasly, in order to overtake, thank you Kevin, and that is your cue to attack those tyres, Mick. Oh, I forgot Mick was still harvesting. That's taking him out of range of Hamilton, but he might be okay if he's pushing to get back in again. We can push the fuel as well on Mick in this respect.
You can stop, lift and coast.
Gasly on the inside. The key thing for Gasly here is as long as he's behind by the detection point, which he isn't. Yeah, unfortunately Hamilton's dropped Mick because I just completely forgot the fact he was harvesting during the virtual safety car. Any update on the rain? Still like 2 laps away. We can probably attack the tyres. We'll attack the tyres until we get range of Doohan. Because if he attacks, I think he'll cut the gap to Doohan.
We are expecting rain.
The rain is here. We might be able to see Perez, whether or not he reacts. He doesn't. By the time he's out, it's definitely going to be intermediate. It's whether or not it goes all the way to wet, like straight away. You say, is the tyre bug still in the game? No. Or at the very least, no one's deigned to come in for a pit stop yet. I mean, we have to go for it, don't we? I feel like it's not going up dramatically quickly yet. And there's enough of a gap between Pierre and Mick we can double stack. No one else has deigned to pit, which is odd. Now it's gone to 1 second. I think everyone is going to pit. It has, yeah. The AI didn't sort of think about it beforehand. I think it's going up slowly enough. Even if we only have to do 1 or 2 laps on these intermediates, it's going to be worth it. And everyone else has sort of pitted as well, although Stroll, Vettel and Zhou haven't for some reason. And Mick, even though he's pitted for tyres there, has come out 10th. So it's not that much of a detriment for Mick in the end. We'll pop it on interval and see what the gap to Doohan happens. It's coming down instantly. And now the front runners are pitting, presumably for intermediates, because they won't pit for wets whilst it's not wets territory. If Jack could just get out of the way, Mick, that'd be fabulous. Thank you, Jack. I think annoyingly, Gasly got held for people, including Albon, because they're one pit. Oh, actually, they've got on wets, it seems. Albon's on wets, which is why he's... oh, yeah, we shouldn't be attacking these, I don't think. No. We could actually go aggressive to the end of the race on these, if we wanted to. We'll leave him on aggressive until he gets past Albon, and then we'll bring him down.
Yeah,
but
take it easy.
Actually, we'll leave him on aggressive until he gets past that Williams.
Keep the tyres cool.
Although I think he's probably going to pit. There we are. Actually, once again, we'll leave him on aggressive until he catches Ricciardo, hopefully. Because hopefully he will do. We can push the fuel on Pierre as well.
No saving required.
So we have undercut Hamilton significantly there with Mick. Norris is in second, but has he pit? No, the imbecile. Russell's just coming in now, 2 laps late. Norris, I presume, following suit. Leclerc, unless they're changing again. I want to know what... No, Leclerc's still on hards. A bunch have gone on wets, actually, which is fascinating. Wait, what did the front runners pit onto originally? Because Perez has just come back out on inters again. Who's run wide? Can't tell on the map.
That sounds like someone's gone wide there.
The fact that Bottas is coming in off wets onto inters now makes me think that some of the front runners went onto wets and then decided against it. So Mick's in fourth. Hamilton is catching him, and Gasly did get caught up. So, good news. Who's holding them up? Alonso in eighth, who's actually benefited out of all of this. But Gasly's in a good striking position now, particularly if this does become a wet race, actually, all of a sudden. Oh, this is going to be tricky because it's definitely going to go back down to intermediate. This is our last opportunity to pit Pierre. To be fair, actually, with Pierre, there's very little to lose. He's already in 12th. That number is still going up, so I'm feeling a little bit more confident. I've got an awful feeling it's going to hover around that borderline. Oh, it is hovering around that borderline. I can say Pierre was in 12th. There wasn't really that much reason not to try it. And weirdly, the people that did go onto wets are now coming off wets. So Gasly's actually still come out in 14th. So he's not actually lost a great deal there. It's the gap to Magnussen I kind of want to watch at this point. Because it's 9 seconds currently. He's not gaining a massive amount, is he? And no one else is opting for the pit stop. He is gaining, though. That might just because he's on aggressive. Oh, I tell a lie. He's kind of gained a second within a lap. But in Mick's case, because he's in fourth, I don't want to try anything. Because everyone else is around him has stayed on intermediates. It's probably best to status quo with Mick. Because a 20-second pit stop would put him... I'm only going to pit Mick if other people pit. Because he's got a buffer if other people go on to wets that he can react into. Because the only person that's kind of in range to undercut him is Hamilton. Mick's about to lap someone. Oh, no, I think they just went really slowly around the corner. I thought for a second... Bottas, I assume it to be, at the very back now, because he's just pitted to go on wets again, I think. I thought he was holding Russell up. But no, it's remained a similar kind of 5-second gap. Ah, okay. That's a very more significant dip now for Pierre to negotiate. I don't think it's necessarily worth... Gasly is now losing time, though, to Magnussen. Oh, no, actually, no, he's still gaining on Tsunoda and Magnussen. I think we leave Gasly out until he's actually not gaining on Magnussen. Although I should keep an eye on Vettel behind as well, see if he's actually catching up or not. Yeah, there's no more 100% rain. That's a lot of that's gone down now in the weather prediction. Yeah, irritatingly, he's not gaining anymore, so any advantage we had, we've lost. Oh, that's a shame. I've actually messed up there. Because he's going to come out behind Albon now. If I pit him. And I'm going to have to pit him, aren't I? Because I don't think it's ever going to be in a range where it's going to be wet again. It might dip back up to wets here briefly, but it's not going to be worth staying out on for. We might as well pit now and see this set of inters through to the end. The only good news is, of course, we'll be on very nice inters by the end of this race because we've effectively got 10 laps fresher. That's unfortunate. Time in pit, 30 seconds. That seems like a long time here. Oh, don't you dare send out a safety car at any point.
Sounds like someone's locked up.
Actually, a safety car would be wonderful. I am conscious of the fact that Verstappen's not far behind Gasly.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm going to go aggressive with Pierre for a few laps just to make sure he stays out of range of Verstappen in case there is a safety car. Mick is slowly being closed in on by Hamilton, by the way.
Okay.
And I presume Leclerc as well.
The brakes are really poor.
Never mind, Pierre, never mind. Well, the whole point of doing that's kind of irrelevant now, wasn't it? I don't know if he's actually going to be blue flagged here or not. At the very least, you could use Max to pull himself through the field. If there isn't a safety car. Yeah, I think Pierre's actually pulled away from Max Verstappen here. But we won't be able to keep that up because we can't deploy forever. Or maybe he hasn't. He's cutting the gap to Albon quite quickly, though. It's now 5 seconds again. There's weird spots where he looks further away from Max and then some spots where he doesn't. It's kind of odd. Going to have to go neutral on his deployment now as well. And his fuel and his tyres. We'll go aggressive on his tyres still. I suspect Max is going to catch him within... He's now only 4 seconds behind Albon. He is catching him, but quickly. Like, he should get 14th back relatively easily. So I'm wondering at which point he's actually going to have to yield to Verstappen here. Or a Norris spin is nice, because that's one less car that's not going to catch Mick. Hamilton is now on Mick's backside, and I don't think it's worth defending from too much. Now, the problem here for Gasly is that he's now stuck in a train behind Zhou, so Verstappen's just caught him easily. It's not like we can I was about to say, it's not like we can use DRS on him. Was that a spin? I mean, that very much looks like... That very much looks like Albon, I presume that to be, has punted him off there in the very much style that Albon himself was punted off once upon a time. Stop making this race interesting, Pierre. I wish there was DRS because that would be really helpful. I mean, Mick's keeping Hamilton at bay. Oh, no, not anymore. Because he's run wide. Not going well for our drivers, is it? Same place where Pierre did it earlier. So now he's going to keep Leclerc at bay, which is probably an infinitely harder task. I'm just going to hold on to his ERS in case Norris becomes a late game thing for Mick. Oh my god. This race goes from bad to worse. Bloody Charles Leclerc has just driven into the back of Mick. The good news is, I don't think Mick needs to come in though. It said minor rear wing damage, so hoping that's not going to be too dramatic. Oh, suspension is minor damage as well. I didn't get told about that one. But the good news, of course, is now Leclerc needs to pit. But the bad news is Norris is now only 4.6 seconds behind. And I don't know how much this damage is going to do to him. Oh, for the love of God. I think Norris was going to slowly catch anyway, but it's hard to tell how much of this is just Norris being fast. Oh, God, his tyres are dead. Oh, I didn't see that. Oh, he's going to have to pit anyway. That's dumb. Yeah, it's never going to go back up to wet territory, I don't think. Thanks, Charles. I mean, Gasly would have been 11th at this point, or maybe even higher if I hadn't pit him twice, so that one's on me. But there you go, he's kept spinning out anyway, so I don't know what he would have done. Good news, Mick. I was worried about where Mick was going to come out there, actually, but I forgot that Leclerc needed a wing change as well, so he's come back out in 10th, well ahead of Tsunoda, Mick, so it's still a point on the table for Mick. And brand new intermediates, which he can obviously attack a lot harder. Wait.
You can stop, lift and coast.
Why has it suddenly got a wet track? That wasn't on the cards. Even the actual weather prediction didn't say heavy rain. Just said 100% chance. I think it's going to come straight back down again, but... Someone's locked up somewhere. I don't know if it's benefiting Mick. Well, people are reacting to this wet weather, interestingly. This might bring Gasly back into it a little bit more. It's not going to stay wet. I think this is what was predicted here, by the way, on our original 64% accuracy. I think this is that little peak and this has come a little later, which means it's probably going to get wet again at the very end. But I'm going to stick this one out, although it's getting wetter again, which I don't appreciate. Oh, Ricciardo's pitted. This could be crucial because the rain's going down again now. Actually, what tire did Leclerc go on to in that pit stop, out of curiosity? Another set of inters. And the good news is the field is now lapped up to Tsunoda, which means if there is a safety car, Gasly can at least get to 12th. Maybe 11th if Ricciardo's overtaken in the pit stop. He isn't, but just because the incentive is one driver in top 12, that's why I'm saying that. Yeah, it's just saying down at this point, so I'm expecting this to go under 4 instantly. Gasly's been harvesting and he's actually caught doing in the process, so that's fun. Although he's about to be lapped, I think, so by Russell, I assume that to be. So I'm kind of hoping he has a go at Doohan before Russell goes, let me through. Never mind. What did you do that for there, Gasly? You just let Vettel through straight away. Norris is pitted. Why is Norris pitted? Tsunoda's re-pitted off wets. Yeah, Norris has gone on to wet, so that's ruined his race. We're going to have to deploy past Vettel now. So that's probably Tsunoda behind this lot. We want to be in the position where we can capitalise on Russell going through Doohan, ideally. Like now. That's what we wanted. Okay, so Mick's 8th. And Norris is probably going to have to pit again now.
Doing a good job.
Texture said, you're doing it good. We'll rewatch that because it's kind of the only good highlight we've had in about half an hour. Now we are taking them both. Lovely work. Oh, something's happened in Sector 2. Don't be one of our drivers. Can't actually see an incident, but I guess someone just slowed down somewhere. Magnussen, that's actually helpful. So Tsunoda still came out ahead of Gasly, but he's only 1.6 behind, and he's actually on the back of Russell. So I think weirdly, actually, I can take him off deploy at this stage because he's going the same pace as Russell. So Gasly can just use Russell as a front shield as he goes through the slower cars because he can't overtake him. It's no good him being faster than Russell at this stage. But yeah, anyone on wets is going to be going a lot slower now. Oh, Tsunoda actually pitted onto another set of intermediates, weirdly. Oh no, it's because he went on wet and then off wet. And yeah, Russell is helping Gasly massively now. Also, it's annoying that he lapped him. He's now just sort of getting in the way. of every other driver that he's coming through, and therefore Gasly's just following him through. Won't bother rewatching that. Bring up the pace again to get on the back of him. Yeah, you just want Pierre to be in the position where he's on Russell's tail. Magnussen's now pitted as well, oddly. I don't think he went on to wets, did he? Meanwhile, Mick's sort of just having fun in 8th at this point. He's 12 seconds ahead of both Leclerc and Norris, who, of course, crashed into him, and then Norris pitted twice, or pitted onto wets. Actually, is Norris still on wets? He is. Norris is about to be lapped as well, which is the best news possible if there is a safety car, because then that at least means 10th is an option for Gasly. I wonder if he's going to pit again, because it's impossible to tell how far ahead of Gasly is, because it now just says 1 lap. I'm trying to work out if that is 1 lap territory. He's about to pit. We're about to find out. Also, Pierre is very much in George Russell again, so... Okay, Norris gets going well ahead of Gasly. Oh, it's Hamilton, not Russell, sorry. All that time I've been calling him George. It's Hamilton that's the one that's gone through them. And I think he's very much now in a position where he's just on Hamilton's tail, so... The awkward thing is, like, Norris was running with Hamilton in that first stint, and now because of these stupid pit stops they've done, he's 12th. And despite the fact that I did stupid pit stops with Gasly, he's only 1 place behind. Because at least I did them in damage limitation spots, when it was actually beneficial to go on those tyres. Mick might be the last driver who doesn't get lapped, because Leclerc is only 2 seconds ahead of Verstappen, really. Because it's about 110 in the rain, it seems. I don't think Gasly's going to catch Norris, so 13th is Gasly. There's only 7 laps remaining, 8 laps remaining. I mean, do I just really put Mick on a charge these last week? Because Ocon is only 7 seconds ahead. And their intermediates are going to be, well, not that much worse, actually. I'm trying to work out if he's actually gaining. 6 seconds, 6.4, 6.3, 6.4, 6.1. There's one bit where he's a lot faster. But I don't really want to attack with Mick now, because I don't want him to do anything stupid. I'm kind of happy just for Mick to get points, because Gasly's not in the top 12. Mick actually fell off Hamilton, so... Pierre fell off Hamilton, sorry. So if you could regain those in the last few laps, in case Hamilton does go through Norris, that would be grand. I'm just going to take 8th with Mick. I'm not going to push my luck, because I've seen what's happened so far. But I do need Lewis to catch Norris would be great, just in case there is anything that happens with Mick. And the best news is, of course, Norris and not Albon are fighting each other, so that is going to slow them down even more in these last 3 laps. So yeah, as you may have gathered by doing it this way, as a recording rather than recording a stream, it's probably going to be a bit shorter an episode going forward, which might be a benefit in general. It's kind of been just one of those races anyway, I guess. But, oh, didn't realise he was pushing his fuel that much. But 3 laps to go, Gasly is 3 seconds behind Norris, but it's all whether or not Hamilton can catch him. And if they continue to fight ahead, because there's no DRS, so it's not helping them sort of run away at all, I think he might catch them, you know. Mick's like taken tenths out of the Alpines. So it's interesting to know that he's faster than them in the rain, fractionally. It's interesting that Mick's got less fuel than Pierre, but he's saying he's got more plus. That still seems to be a thing. I guess I should go on board with Pierre just to see if I can see... Oh, wow, actually, they are a lot closer than I thought they were. And the good news is this lot are ahead of Verstappen as well. So whilst Gasly's a lap down, he's about to start his final lap, I think. So we've still got these 2 full laps to get caught up. I think Hamilton's going to catch them within the next lap. I'm going to deploy here because I want to make sure we are in range. If we can get 11th with Gasly, I mean, it's no points, but it's fun.
2 more laps, 2 more laps.
Oh, Verstappen was the other Red Bull. Same principle, though. We're only 1.7 behind Norris, which means Hamilton is probably about half that. He's absolutely going to get them on the final lap. This is the most exciting thing that's happened since Gasly was in a 5-car overtake. But Hamilton is absolutely going to get this lot. And we harvest through this section as well, which is nice. So we are going to have about 50% charge going into this final stretch. And there is Norris. Is he going to be able to pull back in time? No. Gasly's 12th. So if there's any shenanigans with Mick on this final lap, Mick's actually taken half a second out of the Alpines on the last couple of laps somehow. And he's still got 1 more lap. He's not going to get... Unless one of them has an off, he's not going to get them. Okay, there's no point really attacking Hamilton now because he's not going to catch Ricciardo. But we'll take 11th with Gasly, considering what's happened in this race. Oh, it's actually just gone dry at the very end. Norris took Albon, meanwhile, as well. So he's 12th and 13th in the other order. Ricciardo gets a point, though. Mick gets 4.
Let's check his flag.
What could have been if Leclerc had just contained himself?
Take the pickup.
Annoyingly, Leclerc finished directly behind Mick as well. A lap down, but only about 20 seconds behind on track, though. Or 8 seconds behind on track, you can see it there. So Mick's actually the last one to take the checkered flag, by virtue of being the last one not to be lapped.
Okay,
so even though he was crashed into and had to make an extra pit stop, he was the last one not to be lapped. So it's good driving for Mick, all told. Apart from his one off. that put him in front of Leclerc in the first place. Didn't really cost him much,
He's
all things
living the
considered,
dream.
except for the fact he then got crashed into. That was kind of a damage limitation race.
Today,
We'll take 4 points from Mick any day of the week. We didn't even look at the fastest lap. Of course, that would have happened when it was dry at the beginning. Carlos Sainz got that in second. Perez didn't have a fun race just because he had to pit a second time, I think. But Pierre did still go up 9 places. Does mean Pierre loses out to Hamilton temporarily. Still ahead of Carlos Sainz and Leclerc, though, who are both on 119 points. Mick stays 9th as well. Ocon actually cuts the gap to him, and Alonso increases the gap to him. Constructors-wise, doesn't change anything because we weren't that far behind Mercedes, actually, but I was never expecting to beat Mercedes in the end of this season. I'm expecting us to sort of drop off slowly. But the main thing is, obviously, we maintain a healthy gap to Alpine, particularly in a race where Gasly takes a penalty. I'll switch over here. I should have said both drivers actually had a development point before I started going, so didn't get them a rating at all, but good race by Mick all told, 1,400 points. And he does get 100 grand for finishing in the top 10, but Pierre doesn't. So actually, that's a nice saving of 700 grand. F1 in schools invitation. I mean, it's 100 grand. Staff experience pause for 7 days. Sure, I'll be nice. I wish the monetary output was better than that, but... So yeah, the sporting changes was simulator time, wasn't it? So even though I was in the top half, I still voted for it. Alpine voted for it as well, which is odd. Obviously, the top 4 teams voted against it, although McLaren was one of those 4 teams. You'd have thought Alpine would have voted against that. So it's gone through then. So the top 4 teams next year will have significantly less development time. Well, it might be the year after next, because I think you still get the same at the end of this season, because obviously that's what we've all aimed at. So these will be the regulations in next season, which will then obviously be active the following season, which is probably a bit stupid for us, because we'll probably hopefully either 3rd or 4th or even 2nd next year if we do another year here. But as I said when I voted for it, I'm just hoping this kind of helps increase the difficulty going forward, because it hopefully bunches the field up. Hopefully it bunches the field up a lot better going forward. But next race, Thursday, see you in France. Pierre's home race. That's why I did his penalties this race, just so he didn't do it in his home race. So the weather centre is being refurbished, isn't it? Oh, it's just being improved. That's what I was doing with it. So it'll be 90% when that's actually completed. After next race? I actually can't see the completion. It's after Hungary, in fact, so it'll be available for the second half of the season. That 90% boost. So hopefully there's no rain in the next 2 races, because otherwise we're not going to have any idea when it's turning up. Nonetheless, I'll see. Ooh, I just noticed we've got 25 million in the bank. It might be just worth holding on to a bit of money going forward, because you do have to pay for the engine every year, as I found out. So it might be worth just holding 20 million so we can keep a good engine. Anyway, thank you for joining me. I'll be back for France soon. Until then, thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe if you enjoy this. Ta-ra.